Hey everyone, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff at WYR Reforging, my not-so podcast where I sit down and do some hobby, hang out with cool people, and have good discussions about Age of Sigmar and all kinds of stuff, all kinds of Games Workshop products and games and all that stuff. So one piece of housekeeping right up front is that for the longest time I wanted to get this as actual podcast, like to be played on podcast players. Had some trouble at the beginning of last year, but I got that resolved, and so this episode should be one of the new ones available on your podcast feed pretty much everywhere. So if you are someone who prefers podcasts, you can look forward to it being there. I sorted out the technical problems we were having. But all that to say, welcome to the show. Glad everyone here is watching and paying attention. I have my good Ben with me tonight. Say hi, Ben.
Hello.
Hi. So you've heard me talk about Ben quite a bit. He is an awesome person who I play a lot of games with locally, and we have a grand old time. So very excited to have him on the show. We're going to talk about his descent into AOS, what got him in there. He's an excellent player at 40K, Games Workshop games in general, because Kill Team you're good at too. And do all of that. So why don't you give me like the 1 to 2 minute nerd resume. Tell us about yourself.
So I started the descent into the hobby. Goodness, back in Warhammer 40K, probably 3rd edition. Mm-hmm. I think it was around the year 99 to 2000, and got into it with a couple of my friends. One of them I still game with. He lives out in Walla Walla, and I go out and visit him frequently, and we have nerd weekends.
Nice.
And so I started back then. I actually started playing Eldar.
Whoa.
Yeah, I started with Eldar, and eventually I sold them and replaced them with Space Marines. And okay. Then I had some Imperial Guard that joined the Space Marines for a time in 5th edition, and then I picked up Necrons, and then I sold them, and then I picked up Necrons again, and then I sold them again. And then I got some Thousand Suns, and then Kill Team came out, and I heavily invested in that. I've got, I'm working on Gene Stealers for Kill Team. That's what I'm working on tonight. Painting them
cool.
up. And then I've got some Tau waiting in the wings, as well as nothing else right now. But I got a bunch of terrain for that. And always thinking about the next thing that I can buy for that. But then I started watching your channel, and I started seeing some of the releases for Age of Sigmar about a year ago. That was when Daughters of Cain, I think, were first released. It was about a year ago. And I just thought Bharathi was a really awesome looking model.
Oh, and,
yeah. Some of the other guys in the store locally already were playing Age of Sigmar, and so I kind of wanted a piece of the action a little bit, and I thought this army looks pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And having no idea how they played, I decided to buy some.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like hearing stuff like that, like where people just fall in love with an army and then jump in soon afterwards. Let's see here. Okay, so when we kick off these shows, typically like to start off with what we're working on tonight. So you said a Gene Stealer thing?
Yep, Gene Stealers. Just turned into Gene Stealers. Okay.
Right on. And that's for Kill Team, right? You're doing a whole Gene Stealer army?
No, just for Kill Team.
Cool. For me, if you're looking at the screen, you can see I have a bunch more on the table. I am trying to build towards a specific list. I put that video out maybe a week before about mastering your army, and you should pick a list and stick with it. And so my good friends who don't find me insufferable today helped me build a 2,000 point Beast of Chaos list because I've been struggling to understand them, but we came to a pretty good, what we think a list is today. And so that's what I'm jumping into. So do you have any, I'm going to count purchases as hobby progress on my show because I can do that. Do you have any purchases you made as well?
Not lately. The last thing that I bought was some of the Tau stuff. I got a box of, I got a box of Strike Team from you, and then I got some Pathfinders, a box of Pathfinders, and a box of Stealth Suits, all for Kill Team.
Nice. For me today, I went out to build the list that we had discussed. I bought a couple packs of Enlightened, which if you haven't seen, head over to Instagram. I'm painting them in the Gabe Spawn, that kind of like very pale, sickly looking flesh as the rest of my Beast of Chaos. So yeah, we could talk about that more later on though. What kind of birthed that idea for a list. Let's go on to games played. So you can talk about 40K because that's your main jam, and then we'll both talk about the game we had last night.
Yeah, so I usually just game on Thursday nights. So I'll save our discussion last night for later. And I'll talk about what I did 2 weeks ago, or last week, I guess. So I brought some Kill Team to the store, and there wasn't a whole lot of other people that showed up that night.
That's a Let's Play in Monroe, Washington. It's so hit or miss.
Yeah. We try to organize things on Facebook and get it so that all our schedules line up and that we get a bunch of people there. But I didn't have any luck with it last week. So there was just one other guy there, and he was a 10-year-old kid. And so I taught him how to play Kill Team. And we didn't use any of the extra rules. We didn't bother using specialists. We just used our command points to reroll dice. Yeah. And I have an Astra Militarum Kill Team that consists of Tempestus Scions pretty exclusively. And the first mission that we played was one where you've got to pick a defender and an attacker, and the defender picks a table edge and has to keep the attacker from moving off of the table edge.
Okay.
And so and you get the attacker gets points if they get their models off the edge of the battlefield, and the defender gets points if they stop them moving off the edge of the battlefield.
Okay.
And so my opponent picked one of the long edges, which I explained to him was going to be more difficult for him to defend.
Right.
But he went with it anyways. And then normally with Kill Team, you set up one model and then another model, and you alternate back and forth. But this particular scenario said that the defender sets up their whole line first, and then the attacker sets up their whole line after that. And he set up most of his guys off into one corner. And so me being the jerk that I am, set up all my guys in the kind of the kitty corner, the opposite to that. So he was going to have to, and he was playing Death Guard. So his guys weren't exactly.
They don't move.
Yeah. And I ended up getting 5 of my guys off the table, and he managed to kill 3 of them. And then that ended pretty quickly, and so we started playing another game, but that turned into him hiding behind boxes with all of his guys, and me trying to maneuver around them. But we ended up cleaning up before we finished that game, so it was like 1.5 games.
Gotcha.
I ended up pulling my punches a lot more on the second game. I wasn't. I think I brought 2 plasma guns in the first game.
Okay.
I had like 2
death
guns, a melta gun, and a hotshot volley gun as my heavy weapons, my special weapons in that list. And I think I toned it down the second time around, and I took more guys with just hotshot las guns.
Totally. I think if you explained to him, like, hey, maybe it's the wrong table edge, or maybe you don't want to castle up there, and they still choose to do that. I think part of learning is like you have to respect their autonomy. So I don't think anything wrong with that. Like, you shouldn't feel bad. You explained it and he chose that. That's cool. I mean, maybe that's how he wants to learn it. That's cool. It's cool. I don't think you're a jerk for that. Yeah, okay. Some kill team. For me, I was on a battle report on rerolling ones. It aired this week, but it was last Saturday when we played. Making a fool of myself because for some reason, even though I won 2 rounds at a tournament fair and square, I forgot every one of my rules when I was playing that game. And so trying basically our game last night, which we'll talk about next, was good for me because it dialed it back a little bit to 1,000 points. So I'm like, okay, so fewer rules, no battalion. It felt like I wasn't drinking from a fire hydrant, so that was nice. My collection gets a little more sparse when you go down to 1,000 points because it's more chaff than it is dudes who do stuff. But so on rerolling ones is up there. You should go watch it to support them. They're awesome guys. And if you have any comments on how I can improve, constructive feedback, leave in the comments there, and I will go check it out. But basically, I played against Korn and got stuffed into a locker pretty handily. There was a pretty good moment where the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, who I don't think I took him last night.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, he went toe-to-toe with a Bloodthirster and dealt, I think, 6 wounds, something like that. So he was a boss at the end, but it didn't matter in the very, very end of it all. But it's one of those things, people who we've talked about when Jack and I were talking about mini wargaming, where people who haven't done a battle report don't understand the kind of like shock your brain goes into when there's a camera on you. You just forget stuff. Like it just doesn't come to you. And so even though I played those games at the event and did really well, and I didn't make any major rules mistakes like I did in the rerolling ones one, I don't know. It just kind of puts you in a little paralysis state. But so that's up there. Go enjoy it. No, we'll talk about our game last night. So we did 1,000 points. My army was 3 units of gore, thing of enlightened, Zangor Shaman, so some Bestigor, and a Gorgon.
And you had a Great Bray Shaman.
Yeah, Great Bray Shaman. Good call. So like this was sort of not really a demo game because I think you played AOS once before, right?
Yeah, I did. I used I borrowed someone's Stormcast Eternals, and I think I played against your Slaves to Darkness.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But it was the first game with your since they've been built because they were built super recently. So yeah, it was sort of an introductory game-ish, at least to the army for Ben. And I actually have some pictures. Let me just finish this one guy's leg. And you're going to super awesome footage here. Let me go to screen share. And I'll have it lock on me. And okay, so wrong picture. So this is how things started at the end of my turn one. Actually, before I go any further, why don't you walk me through what you brought?
All right, so in my list, I managed to fit in a Caldron Guard battalion, which is just I think it's a Hag Queen on a Cauldron of Blood with 2 units of witches and 2 units of I'm doing this from memory and it's not good enough yet. So I'm going to pull out my book next to me.
That's cool. It's the Flying Girls, and I get them confused 100% of the time too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had Queen 2 units of Witch Elves and 2 units of Canary Life Takers. And and then I also had a Bloodrock Medusa and a unit of the Canary Heart Renders, the other ones. Spears. So, and these are all like minimum size units. So it was just 10 Witch Elves in one squad, 10 Witch Elves in the other squad. And one of them had shields, the other one had 2 knives.
Right on.
And that was it.
So look at the picture here. You set up the entire battalion at once, crowded everything around it, and then you had the flying units up in the sky. The Bloodrock Medusa is on the table, but she's just behind the cauldron, I believe, from the picture. So
it was just the heart renders that were flying up above. The life takers.
Okay.
They're both in the back there.
Yep. What was your thought process? Because you got to choose who went first. What were you thinking?
All right, so this is after you explained sort of how your guys can move really fast. I thought, well, he could get off a first turn charge against me if he got pretty lucky. But
we measured it out. I didn't need to be that lucky.
You didn't even need to be that lucky, no. Yeah. So with your just on the run, if you got a 6 on the run, which you did, you could have gone 16 inches because of the extra inch that you got from, I don't know, your particular war herd or whatever.
Yeah, so the banner gives me +1 to run, and then the shaman, the Great Bray Shaman, gives me 3 inches to my movement if I start near him.
Yeah, and so that squad that's on the right over there, they've made their 6. They ran an additional 6 inches, which yielded they got a 16-inch move right off the bat, and I'm pretty sure they're less than 12 inches away from my front lines. I think. Oh, and you didn't even move them as far forward as you possibly could.
No, we measured it out. I could have gone right up. I'm gonna highlight it right up there, but because we measured it out, and it would have been like 6 inches ish of a charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
8 inches probably.
Oh yeah, maybe. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So my thought behind letting you go first was that if I went first, I was going to be too tempted to go after both of the objectives because we're playing with the 4 objectives there. You want to put your cursor on those they're probably pretty.
Yeah. So we have mine in the dead center down here. This one over here on the left, over here on the right, and then your cauldron is basically tapping.
Yeah.
One back there.
Yeah. So my thought, if I went first, was I'd run after the 2 in the middle, and I was going to split my forces up, which I was hesitant to do because a lot of what I had selected in my army was based off a lot of synergies of being near each other. Like the temple that I chose was Hagnar, and so my command trait I could get the save after save on a 5+ if I was within 7 inches of my general. So I kind of wanted to stick in a big enough bubble around the Cauldron of Blood as much as I could. So I opted to let you go first so that if you did charge me, I was at least still within that bubble.
Totally. Makes perfect sense to me. As a side note, we say it's Ben's first game with Daughters of Cain, but he's one of those mythical unicorn people who can just read rules and know what they like and put it into context, whereas I have to lose at least 100 times before I get it. So, very good call there. Yeah, so I went first, and so this is my end of my turn 1. I was watching a lot of Doom and Darkness, who is a YouTuber who does more competitive stuff down in Australia. And he is extremely good at using chaff to kind of dictate combat. So he does a lot with Enlightened, where he has a chaff wall and then taps one guy on the side into the enemy so that when you attack, you destroy my chaff wall. And then when it's my turn to attack, I move up in that space and tag you right back with my better unit. And I tried doing that on the right side here. You can't really see it well, but in the front, there's a wall of 10 gore that are spread out pretty well, and right behind them is 10 Bestigore. So my thought was, oh, he'll charge the gore, destroy them, and then the Bestigore will walk right up and take their place, and then get their licks in at pretty much full strength. What I didn't count on in that equation, and what I never saw him fight, or in the same way, is the fact that by doing so, you can run and charge too.
Yep.
So you had the momentum to wrap around the chaff wall completely, rather than just booping an edge of it.
Yep.
So if I had considered that, because this is my first time playing against Daughters of Cain, I probably would have actually gone further back here to make you earn that distance. So I had just like 2 or 3 guys within the 6-inch range of that objective, and then everyone else is further back. Because I would have gotten the same amount of points. It just would have been harder for you to just completely envelop me in Bikini Girls. So, yeah. I don't know. Lesson learned. I'm okay with that. But, yeah. And then on the other side, I just walked pretty much straight up. What I was hoping you would do is drop the flyer girls with javelins more towards the center. So I have the Enlightened in the back. They're there just to basically, whatever flank starts falling apart, they're going to charge right in and mess some stuff up. So that's my logic. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to go to the next picture, which is your turn 1. And as you can see, things did not go well.
Turn 1, yeah.
At the end of you can walk me through your turn basically, but I think the pictures say a whole lot.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of Daughters of Cain units around what used to be your 10 gore and 10 Bestigore.
So my plan of having the Enlightened go after whatever flank is falling apart quickly turned to that side of the table is death. Don't go near there. Yeah. So I mean, and this is 100%. You can see what I'm talking about. Where that footprint was, where the Witch Elves, the right side was able to tap the Bestigores, and the flyer unit was able to come all the way around the backside. And so with all of that movement, it kind of negated the whole point of the chaff wall. But, you know, up until now, the only things I've actually played against are Khorne and Stormcast, who don't have that same level of aggression. So I chalked that up to being my first time playing the army against, another army that can run and charge, for sure. Yeah, you want to walk me through basically what how you did that?
Well, the reason why I did that was because I saw your Gorgon on the other side of the table, and I thought to myself, oh, that guy looks big and scary, and I'm going to avoid him for as long as possible. And I'm going to try to divide and conquer a little bit. And so you luckily divided your own force, and so I decided to go off and try to conquer one of them, and it worked.
Yep, it totally did. If I had to do it over again, I would have 10 gore getting that objective to get the points, and then the rest of it would be more towards the center, so you didn't have this nice big open playground. But over here on the right, that's all the dead pile. Yeah, and then we'll move into, we rolled off return priority, and I believe I got it. There's a turn where the picture didn't come through. It was all blurred out. So I won that one. I sent Enlightened from where the Herdstone is up to the top left. They're up here now. To try and basically kill the snake lady in the back, Bloodrock Medusa, and get his objective. I also summoned 10 gore in the back, and then the rest of it just basically went to the right to try and fight his army. And so this is a picture at the end, after my turn, in your turn, when you're about to bring the hammer down.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that one? This would be round 2? Yeah, 2.
Yeah, this is round 2. Well, despite having watched like most of your videos where you talk about your army, I failed to remember that you could summon stuff in the heat of the moment. So you dropping those 10 gore behind me came as a complete shock. And at this point, you had moved up your Gorgon and you had failed the charge roll on that guy.
Yep, that was sad.
Yeah, and I don't remember what happened otherwise because we don't have that picture to bring.
Yeah, basically what happened was I tried to do the same chaff wall thing with a unit up here on the top that were guarding the Enlightened this time rather than the way I did before the Bestigor. But the Cauldron in my turn evaporated the gore wall, and then your Harpy girls jumped on him. Jumped on the Enlightened, right. I mean. And then this is now your turn where your Cauldron moved and everyone got a charge off. Your entire army charged my entire army.
Yeah. Because I've got the other winged girls down there by your Herdstone surrounding your Great Bray Shaman, and your Gorgon has 2 units of witches around him. One of them has 8 in it and one of them has 10 in it, and then the Cauldron is right there. And the 8-strong unit, I was managed to get Witch Brew on them and Mind Razor on them. And at this point I thought, well, I was going to need these. I was really going to need these buffs to help bring down this big beast. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to need to attack with all 3 of those units in order to bring this guy down. And in the combat phase here, or the fight phase or whatever we call it in Age of Sigmar, mm-hmm. I think I attacked with my Kinyari that were around your Enlightened first.
Yeah.
So, and then you attacked with the Gorgon and you targeted the Cauldron of Blood and only managed 3 wounds against it.
Yep.
Because I saved a bunch of them and then save after saved a bunch of them.
Yep.
So
the Gorgon was an aesthetic choice. I wanted to give you a fun big model to chew into.
Thank you for letting me chew something big. I hit back with the buffed unit of witches that had the Witch Brew on them and the Mind Razor.
Yeah. And
they brought the big cow down.
Yep.
And with damage to spare.
Yep.
And that was an eye-opening moment. And at that point, what did you say, Doug?
I don't remember. You know, prompt me.
I think you said, and now you see why they're the top of the tournament scene or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, I said that because you had asked earlier when you were first looking at the army, you're like, "Are Daughters of Cain good?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude." And so I was just relaying that point of like this is why I said yes. Like the mountain of attacks they can barf out is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and I think it probably would matter less against something with a better save.
Yep. That's the thing is like my army. We have a 5-up save universally, 4-up if the gores are in combat. But they're at that point their weakness is just weight of dice or any kind of rend. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna go through. A lot of your stuff didn't have rend and it was irrelevant.
Yeah, true. Just because your save wasn't great, I just needed to hit you.
Totally, yeah. And then this is the picture after that, where the thing that I didn't capture, unfortunately, because it happened so fast, was you killed the Zangor Shaman, he turned into a spawn, then you killed the spawn. And then Shaman down here at the bottom is also a spawn. And then up top, you killed all but 2 of the gore, and that's when we shook hands, and I was like, do you feel like you learned your army?
I feel like I got it. I feel like I got a handle on some things.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fun. I'm not a competitive guy. I don't have thoughts on how to make Daughters of Cain better. I have no idea. Balancing stuff sounds so out of my league, but I thought you did great at remembering your rules for a learning game. You know, like I said before, you're someone who's really great at that kind of stuff. So, and I feel good because I remembered all my stuff. I never usually on the drive home is when I berate myself for like, oh man, I forgot everything. But
there was mistakes that I'm sure that I made because so many of the bonuses, like some of the effects, they all have such different ranges. Like,
it's true.
Like the prayer that I took, Blessing of Cain, was a 14-inch range, and Mindrazor has a 18-inch range, and the Devoted Disciplines command trait for Hagnar is a 7-inch range. And then there was the Blood Shield that had, I think it started with a 18 or 16-inch range or something like that on the Cauldron, and that changed. And then the Witch Elves get an extra attack if they're within 8 inches of a hero. So there's just so many different ranges that I need to be mindful about. And then the Witch Brew is a 3-inch range if a unit is close enough. And so there's just a bunch of different little ranges that I had to be mindful of and make sure my girls were all hanging around in the same area.
Totally. Yeah, I see that when I watch tournament reviews or people like doing tournament prep that they record for the internet. There's a lot of castling for that exact reason, at least during the opening turns, to kind of take that first wave on the chin, because they kind of have the Fire Slayer thing, which is like the GW paradox of like the less clothes you have, the better armored you are.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing. Let's see here. Let me pull up my show notes again because I minimized them. So yeah, that is it for us and our games. But as always, Ben, you're my favorite person to play against. Certainly at Let's Play, and most definitely in 40K. This is the guy who, when I talk about 40K, is my person I like to play with because he plays for narrative and fun and stuff like that. But yeah, super fun, and I'm really glad to get in AOS. So at this point, I'm going to jump into kind of our main topics for tonight. I really have 3 kind of main ones. At the end of that, very briefly, we're going to be doing listener questions. So if you have questions, get them ready. At the end of it, basically, if you type question in all caps and then write it out, we'll answer it on the show. We are going to shut this one down close to 10:30-ish, just for scheduling reasons. But these topics should go pretty quick. So first thing is, what drew you to AOS? Now, I know we kind of talked about this before. You said it was Bharathi, but a lot of things have to happen for you to drop Daughters of Cain money on an army. So what kind of started the seed of like being a long-term 40K player and then being interested in AOS after seeing all the stuff with fantasy?
Well, for the longest time, I mean, when Warhammer Fantasy Battles was still a thing, I was not interested in it at all, pretty much because of the apparent high price point to entry, because it was just these huge blocks of troops moving around on the battlefield, and I think that just looks like it takes so much money to build up to have an army that size. So at that point, like I never really considered seriously doing a fantasy style and leaving the 40K scene, or at least adding to the 40K stuff. So it really took Age of Sigmar to change that, the whole reimagining of the way the world, the way that game could play.
Totally.
And realizing that, okay, it's a little bit more like 40K now, because they're using round bases now instead of square bases, and they don't have to be in these ranks, and you can play like smaller games with them, and that was kind of cool. And I was like, oh, well, at the time I thought, oh, well, good for them, because I think at the time, like, sales, like the sales for the fantasy was just, it was plummeting, and 40K was pretty much all Games Workshop was making money on, and at least that's the internet was telling us. And so I thought, well, yeah, that's a good, healthy change for them. And then I heard about some of the initial problems with Age of Sigmar, like no points and some of that interesting stuff, and how kind of all the old Warhammer Fantasy people were hating on it. And then I don't know. Then I think I met you, Doug, and started watching your channel, and just all the lore stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun to just listen to in the background while painting or doing whatever. And then there was a couple guys that showed up to Let's Play Cafe several times with they were just pretty dedicated Age of Sigmar players, and thought, well, these guys are definitely into it. There's definitely a community around here that's alive and well. So that always helps in the interest for, an interest for me. If there's a community of something going on, then I'll be more willing to drop money on a product to get
totally. Yeah, that tends to be why I never got into Malifaux or Infinity. It's like there's just the community aspect. Like having a game that no one else plays is just a sad thing.
Yeah, it's definitely true. I've never been interested. I've never been tempted by. I mean, I've looked at some Infinity models and thought to myself, how could I make these Imperial Guardsmen? But never really thought about Malifaux. So yeah.
Cool. All right, so you're interested in it, and was it like a steadily growing interest, and then the Daughters of Cain thing came out, and you were like, yes?
Yeah, it was, and that's pretty much how it went. Several of the other guys had, so the two guys in the store, one of them has Nurgle demons, and the other guy has Stormcast Eternals, and they're very consistent. They're usually there every week. And then a couple other guys bought into Age of Sigmar too, and one of the guys got Caldron Overlords.
Yep.
And another guy got Seraphon. And I thought, well, this community's building. That's awesome. So I was interested at that point, and I started looking at other armies, like what would I want to do? And I I wasn't really that interested in the half-naked short people.
Okay.
So yeah, I wasn't really interested in Fire Slayers, and I'm more inclined to do an Order army than a Chaos one, or so I was more looking at those, and Stormcast just looked like Space Marines all over again.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, in terms of
Yeah,
actual painting and hobby, they're not far off for a reason.
yeah, and I kind of wanted to do something that had a book.
Yeah, that's a huge deal.
And so I didn't really want to do the old school dwarves,
Mm-hmm.
or the humans, the free people. So I was just kind of waiting around in the wings for something that they released that would pique my interest, and then they released Daughters of Cain, and I was like, oh, Bharathi looks awesome. And the fact that she can change, she changes forms, that was something totally foreign to my concept of how tabletop games could be played.
Is there anything like that in 40K?
No.
Oh, okay.
I
thought there was like a Space Wolf guy who could wolf out. Is that not true?
That's not true. I've theorized that if they came out with a Lehman Russ Primarch, that he would have a wolfen form.
That'd be dope.
That's all that I'm aware of. Oh, I guess it's like the closest thing to a tank blowing up and the driver getting out, like Sergeant Cronus for the Space Marines.
That's true.
But I mean, it's like he's kind of in the tank already, and he doesn't get better when the tank dies.
Right.
He gets way better when she gets angry.
Yeah, it's full Hulk, yeah. Cool, awesome. For me, because it's an interview for both of us. For me, it was definitely just like Ben said. I'm sorry, I was rude of me. Do you have anything else you want to add as far as how you got in?
Not really. I mean, I just I bought like all of a box of each of the new things right when they came out. So I got a box of the Medusas and the Harpies and Bharathi, and then I eventually got a box of Witches, and I built them all up, and then Games Workshop ran out of stock on the Cauldron of Blood.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I want one of those.
Mm-hmm. Or 3, yeah, because all the heroes are in there.
Yeah. So I just kind of sat on them for a while, and I didn't play a game with them, but I did end up borrowing the Stormcast Eternal guys to play against your Slaves of Darkness.
Yep.
And pretty sure I lost that game, but it's far enough in distant memory that it doesn't really matter. It was the first game, and I didn't dislike the rule set enough to regret my decision for buying into it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't give you a bad game experience. Goodness, I don't remember that. I don't remember how it turned out. I remember seeing the army. I just don't remember how it went. Cool. And then how did you get you got the holiday bundle? What did you get?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay. About the Battle Force, and that's the sum total of what I own. So I need basically, I guess I need to buy more Witches.
No, you're fine. You have plenty. Don't buy any more.
Okay.
Yeah, buy all the Witches. Yep. Awesome. For me, real briefly, because I've kind of touched on it in a few different episodes, but when I was in graduated college and I was working while Jess was in school, we decided that I needed a hobby before I went insane. And so I looked around at building just scale models. I look at historical stuff, like not game related, just scale models because I did it when I was a kid and I enjoyed it. And that's when I found some tutorials for how to paint War Machine stuff. And I was like, why would I ever paint a German tank if I could build a robot? And then that kind of took me on a long road to Warhammer 40K, to fantasy, to I really love fantasy, but I got into fantasy like 3 months before the end times happened. So I was like, oh, cool. What's this old world? Boom.
It's gone now.
Yeah. And then I just basically got in on the ground floor at Age of Sigmar. And so, which is funny because people think because I have this channel, I just kind of know everything from the old world too. And they're like, what about this character? I don't know, man. Sounds like you just made him up to me. Because I don't have any of the background for fantasy battles except for the high elf stuff. Because that was my faction in fantasy battles was high elves, specifically because exactly what you said as far as they're the lowest model count army, at least one of them.
Yeah.
So that was the goal there. Yeah. Move on from there. I think I answered that last week too. I don't know why I thought I hadn't said that before. Ben, do you have any hobby resolutions for 2019? That's kind of our second topic we have here.
Yeah. I have several. One of them is I made it pretty easy for myself. I said one of them is finish painting. I mean, get these Gene Stealer built and painted. So, hey, they're built, and I'm working on painting them. So that's good. I'm almost there to that resolution.
Question: do you enjoy painting or building more?
I enjoy building more. I make it a point to build almost everything. I hardly have anything sitting around in boxes waiting to be built. The only things that I have right now are the Tau stuff waiting to be built, just because I told myself I'm going to do these resolutions in order. So get the Gene Stealers built and painted first, and then work on the Tau. So then I'll get a Tau kill team built and painted. So that's probably going to be around 11 models or so. Maybe more, just to have a few other options.
Yeah.
And then I've got the terrain that came in the Gene Stealers kill team box, which is more of the shipping containers and crates and stuff, which I already have a bunch of those. I just like them. So
they're great.
They're really good. They're good for just like regular scatter terrain for regular 40K, and they provide great cover in kill team. I'm gonna have like 10 of those big crates by the time I'm done building all of these things, and that should go pretty quick. And then I've got some trenches from the Wall of Martyrs kit. This came in the Tau kill team box, so I've got two of these to put together and paint, and they have cavity ends. And then my friend Walla Walla has like a whole bunch more of these that I'll work on eventually too. And he's got 4 of these segments, and then like a bunker to go in the middle.
I didn't know there was that there's that big of a set.
Yeah, there was one of those like Battlefield collection sets.
Okay.
And he bought that and got them all. And then that's probably gonna take me a good long time. And then after that, I'd like to paint my my Demon Prince for the Thousand Suns. He's one of the old metal ones. I think he looks awesome.
Nice.
And then maybe get some Daughters of Cain painted. So that's where the resolutions sit at the moment.
Those are super solid goals, man.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to accomplish.
We should be saying that when I casually say that I paint to a 3-foot fabulous level, we often joke that Ben paints to a 3-inch fabulous level, meaning very detailed, great job at his painting. But it takes time to achieve perfection. So that's my point in saying that is it's a big goal to have all that stuff built and painted. It's awesome, and I support it.
The nice thing with a lot of my plan is utilize dry brushing as much as possible. So I did that to excellent effect on the crates and containers the first time around. A lot of dry brushing employed painting those ones, and when you don't have to be super careful, things can always go by a lot faster. And so trying to come up with organic shapes kind of lend themselves to being dry brushed a lot easier than like
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think they catch edges a lot more smoothly than I don't know. They seem more naturally lit when you dry brush. I feel like things can get really harsh when you do it on a flat surface with hard edges.
Yeah.
Cool. For my hobby commitments, because I am someone who hops factions all the time, I am trying to stick to one army for 2019 for the most of it. I said in my video about my resolutions that I was going to play nothing but Beast of Chaos for the entire year. I forgot to mention that I am going to be doing battle reports, so I will have to at some point play something else like my Slaves to Darkness just to accommodate guests and stuff like that. But for any events that I go to, which I hope is more, it's always going to be Beasts.
On that topic, Doug, what's the timeline on battle reports?
It is pretty darn nebulous. The thing that's holding me up, first of all, is nervousness about trying something new. I'll be straight up and honest about that. And I had this. So basically, during the Christmas season, we got this shelf to install in the bathroom, and can't seem to get it mounted quite right. So it's sitting in my office right behind me. You can't see it because I'm you can't see it, period, because my camera's facing down, but behind me. And so I need to get that mounted out of the way before I can pull the collapsible table out. So anyway, so some home improvement projects to clear up space. Yeah, so it's coming. I mean, honestly, I have everything to do it now if I took it to the living room. It's just, this is my peak season at work as well. Where, if you don't know, I work with Medicare patients for emergency services. So right now, case managers across the country are hooking people up with all kinds of emergency equipment, which is what I work with. And yeah, so work's busy. Come home, I want to sleep and maybe paint.
Sleep is good.
But yeah, actually, we do have something planned with, I say planned. Planned is a strong word, but we want to do something with rerolling ones where my house is Shyish and Mark's house is Giran. Jack's house is Akshi, and we do kind of a unified narrative campaign together. Which would be a pretty fun idea, I think. So we will be working on that. Part of it too is just I need to decide what kind of battle reports I want to do. I've talked about this a few times. People have had some good input, but as far as showing every role versus keeping it super lean and not showing everything and just doing a story thing, kind of like what I did before with that skirmish report. If you're curious, I do have a battle report on my channel. It's from 2 years ago now. Go give it a watch and leave some feedback on that video because I still check in on it. But yeah, the thing about doing those is it doesn't require a second person. So it's well, if I went to someone and said, "Can I borrow your army?" It would be the exact same thing, and no one would know the difference.
Yeah,
that's not fun. So I'm trying to figure that out. But yeah, that's pretty much pretty much it for me. And that, yeah, stick to an army, do some battle reports, and hopefully the channel grows. That'd be cool. At some point, I can't really make it a resolution because that sounds awful, I think. But I do want to be, one of my life goals is to be a Warhammer hero.
It's a good goal.
Yep.
I did nominate you.
You broke up for a second.
Oh, I did nominate you for being a Warhammer hero.
I appreciate that. No, it's just that because I want to like a way of saying like I am doing everything that I want to do to make everyone feel so welcome and invited. So that's the intent behind that, not just winning an award or something like that, but just to, I don't know, be of that value to everybody. But that is not a goal that is achievable because I can't do anything to make it happen. I can just keep being a person in the community who encourages others, and that's about it. So I intend to do that anyway.
All right.
Let me check my notes here. And third one is one that you want to talk about that I am super keen on. I have a few questions. That is army transportation.
Yeah, and so for that, I'm going to have to clean my brush off here.
Okay. While you're doing that, just a few things. So there's a few ways to transport your army. You got foam, which is typically what I use because I'm lazy. Magnetized, which I also do just with my chaff walls. If you haven't seen it, I basically take a cake pan. You can buy these cake pans that have lids already with them, and I just magnetize models. They're not magnetized as slots for painting, but anyway, when they are magnetized, they just stand straight up and click to the bottom, throw the cake pan lid on top, stackable, and I love it. And then Ben's going to show you a DIY thing that just blows my stinking mind. So let me know when you're ready. All right. Now I got locked on you.
All right. I'm going to... All right. I'll just go work best. I'm going to adjust the camera down a little bit.
Go for
it. All right. So what I've done here is I've taken, this is an ornament storage box. I got this at Fred Meyer. I got 2 of them. This is by Sterilite.
Okay. Oh yeah, it is an ornament thing, isn't it? Okay. Does it come with dividers?
It does. I threw them out.
Ah, that's cool.
Because I decided I wasn't going to be using them. So I was struggling with an idea for how I was going to transport my Daughters of Cain army because they're so spiky and spindly. Mm-hmm. And this is what I came up with. So you can't quite tell in the picture, but everything's mounted upside down. So everything's magnetized upside down because what I did is I've riveted some steel plates onto the underside of all of these pieces. So this is the lid. It's got some steel riveted on there. And then I've got my cards and some dice and the avatar. I need to figure out a way to get him magnetized on there because currently he can't quite stick. And then, oops, Bharathi fell. So I've got hanging upside down here are the Cauldron and some heroes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so when you're looking at it, reiterate. So, like, he opens the top thing and all his gaming materials are there, and then he flips the whole contraption upside down, and now his army's right side up, and they're magnetized well enough to usually stay in the bottom there. Bharathi kind of jumped around, but yeah. Yeah,
that means I think I just need to add another magnet or 2 to her bottom, and then
totally
to her base, and then she'll probably be good. But yeah, that helps me like store all of the witches and Medusas. They can all hang out there, and the Canary, because these ones are super shaky, and also spiky. And so, man, if I wanted to do a foam solution for these girls in particular, they would have to take up a lot of space. Because you don't want all those edges and all their the points on their wings. You don't want them getting caught and getting stuck. So another solution that I've done that's do it yourself is I'll talk about that more once I get this all put away, but I'll show that one in a moment too.
No sweat, take your time. So, where do you while you're doing that, you can chat. Like, how do you rivet them in? I don't think I've ever, outside of like a World War II documentary, I don't know nothing about rivet guns.
All right, so I have it's called a pop rivet gun. It's almost like a wrench, almost. Okay. You just stick a rivet in the end of it, and you just pull on this handle until it pulls an end out, and it expands the end of the rivet and locks some stuff in there.
So it's like a bit there, but useful.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I dig it. Someone in the chat asked how expensive that was once you own the riveter and that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I don't know how much I bought the pop rivet thing for, the pop rivet gun. I mean, it can't be that expensive.
Sorry, I meant how much is the storage solution, assuming you already own the rivet thing?
Oh yeah, I think a set of each of those cases. So they came with the 2 trays, so I ended up buying 2 of them. I think they were like $10 MSRP, and I got them on sale at Fred Meyer when they were closing out their Christmas stuff. I imagine you could probably still find them somewhere on like Amazon or eBay or somewhere.
Let's see. I am on
outside of the season.
Yeah, so I'm looking at 1427. Okay, 1427. I got the item number here. 1 second here. Let's see what I can find. I think it's about $25 ish. Yeah, there's equivalent ones at different places for like 13 to 25. Depending, honestly, the thing you'll need to think about is when it comes to pricing, how tall you need it to be, because the ones that Ben has are pretty tall.
Yeah.
There's other options that are cheaper than that are not quite the same height, but they're the same dimensions.
Yeah, I was looking around quite a long time for something that would work right, and because Bharathi is a tall model.
Yeah.
And finding a good storage solution for her was difficult. So that was my main goal. And I ended up having to cut out half of the bottoms of one of those trays to let her fit through into the next story. So apart from storing my Salamander Space Marines, I store them in a battle foam carrying case, and it's excellent. I love it, but it's expensive, and not everybody has that much money to throw around on storing all their armies all the time, like me. So what I've also done is, I think Fred Meyer and like any other camping store or maybe sewing store will have foam like this. I think it's like camping mattress or like seat foam material, but they come in like 2-inch. They'll come in like 2-inch thick chunks. Like they come in 1-inch thick chunks. And I think sometimes they'll come in like 4 inches. But I usually buy the 2-inch ones.
Yeah.
And with these, because this is how I store my 1,000 Suns.
They're also super spiky and all over the place.
Yeah. Which is directly applicable to you, Doug, because this is how I store some Zangor Enlightened. But I've cut slots in all of these. And I've got Zangors here on my right, and some cultists in the middle, and some Rubric Marines on the left. And that, it works great. It's nice and squishy, so it'll kind of absorb any spiky stuff. And it, yeah, I haven't broken anything yet, so that's saying something.
Yeah, I find so I've seen you bring that in, and I've actually played it and poked around with it a little bit. It's much softer than foam that you get from like Battle Foam, or the foams who are made for miniatures. I think that's definitely part of it. I think it has more give.
Yeah, it has a lot more give
when you put it in a nice sturdy case, where I don't know, I feel like it does a good job of keeping them safe. So yeah, dude, that's awesome. Me right now, I think I'm probably gonna order a bunch of those Starlight things, because my biggest thing right now is transportation is my biggest problem, because it's a lot of bodies, and then it's super weirdly shaped ones with like the Enlightened on discs.
Yeah.
So it's a problem. Yeah. I'll take the camera off, lock it on you, so we'll go back and forth here. But yeah, no, I think I'm gonna do that. And I know a guy with a rivet gun, so
conveniently.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
It definitely beats the storage solution for one of the guys that comes regularly on Thursday nights. He brings his stuff in yogurt containers and
my favorite
egg crates.
So yeah,
use egg cartons.
He's a Nurgle player, and he's one of my favorite people to game with. And he's so enthusiastic. And like, he shows up, and he just like, the first time I met him, he just put like 3 cartons of eggs out, and I was like, what the heck? And then he opened them up, and it's full of plague bears. Each little egg is a plague bear, and I'm like, this is amazing. That was a good time. I was so perplexed when he put all those out. Like, what? Thought I walked into a farmer's market instead of a gamer night. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, he uses plastic bags as like something to soften the blows. Some like material.
I'll do plastic bags as well. I'll also do an old T-shirt if I need just like a layer of something. Like when I went to the tournament 2-3 weeks ago, I had my my shirt. I have an old shirt that I like use to clean my brushes off, and yeah, I had to lay down and have my Herdstone and the Gorgon all laid on top of that and wrapped up in it. I was like, yeah, I love it. I love it. It looks super janky. So that is it for the actual official topics that we had planned, just to get us into a good conversation. We have about 20 minutes left, and if you have a question you'd like to ask me or Ben, go ahead and type question in all caps and then ask it, just so I don't lose anyone's place. But while you all are doing that, I have some that were sent in from viewers like you. So I'll go ahead and pull up. Oh, one just came in just now. Your name, Donald Trump. Okay. Hey, Donald. Thanks for watching. You can put any name you want in this thing. So the question is, for both of you, if you had to give one piece of advice for building/painting and one piece of advice for playing AOS for a brand new hobbyist, what would it be? So, Ben, you're a brand new hobbyist for AOS. What would you say for that part?
I don't know about the building and painting part, because I wouldn't qualify myself as a brand new hobbyist there.
Oh, no, sorry. 2 questions. One piece of advice for building and painting.
Okay. And then and then for brand new hobbyists.
Yeah.
Well, the easiest thing to say is watch all of 2+ Tough's videos.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's not going to help you learn how to play the game, I can tell you that. Anyone who watched that battle report we just went through.
Yeah, well, Games Workshop put out a good, pretty good tutorial video session on how to play. Besides that, just playing a game. Find somebody who knows the game and play with them, because you can watch something online, but nothing beats just rolling dice.
You know, I agree with that. That's kind of the struggle I'm having actually with my army. I've played many, but this faction, Beast of Chaos, is one where I'm finding that no amount of Theory Hammer helps you out. You just got to get to rolling dice. Because part of it is everyone has an opinion on stuff online, but it doesn't matter if they haven't actually tried it.
Yeah.
And do you have any suggestions for someone who's new to building and painting?
I haven't been new to that for so long, so it's difficult for me to think.
Get good.
As far as like painting, it's one of those things that's a muscle that needs to be constantly exercised.
Yep, I agree.
And so, they say when you're learning to play an instrument, you need to play at least like 15 to 30 minutes a day to at least maintain your skill, and more if you want to improve. So, painting's kind of the same way. So if you can get a little bit done each day, which I don't come close to. I'm lucky sometimes if I can sit down once a week for an hour or two to paint.
Yep, there's tons of people like that.
Yeah, so just a little bit of time every day helps. And as far as building, you don't need a lot of fancy stuff. When I first started, I used a pair of fingernail clippers as sprue cutters.
Yep.
And you don't need, like, I've been painting for a long time, and I've dabbled with a wet palette, and I keep going back to the same thing.
Hold it up. Show everyone.
This is my part of my shame. So this is my palette. It's a shape that some of you may recognize as a CD.
Anyone who's ever made fun of me, stop what you're doing and look at this stinking thing.
All the paint that I've ever used for the last 14 years is built up on this thing, and it is quite thick. If you can't tell.
That paint palette has been collecting paint since longer than some of your children have existed. Don't make fun of me for my stupid little thing. Oh, that's funny. Cool. Those are great thoughts. My suggestion, if you're new to painting, is pick one thing, whatever the main color of your model is, and get good at that. And then pick one other thing and get good at that, and just keep going. So, like, if you're painting Stormcast, right, and you want to go with the Studio Gold, just focus on painting the gold and nothing else. Get really good at that. GW has tutorials out the nose. And then when you feel comfortable, go back and do the exact same process of learning and testing with the tabard colors, blue or whatever like that, and the shoulder pads. And what you'll do is, over time, build up a repertoire of just skills. Just things you're good at painting, and that's exactly how I did it. Many things I'm still terrible at painting. Purple, I always make purple look awful. But I seem to have nothing to paint that's purple, so that's probably why I have no reason to try it. But yeah, building up skills over time rather than just trying to ingest it all at once is definitely, I think, a good way to go. As far as being new to AOS in general, I have reviews for Start Collecting Boxes to save you some money. Other than that, yeah, nothing will ever beat playing games and going to a local game group. And more important than playing games is just building relationships and memories, like having those moments where maybe you don't feel like hobbying, but you remember how much fun you had last week, and it kind of gets you in the zone. So those are super important. So, Donald Trump, that is how I would answer your question.
Thank you for the question, Mr. President.
Exactly, yeah. Let's see. Question. Gabriel says, are you doing a video on your Beast Lord? My Beast Lord I actually got in a trade. If you don't know what it looks like, it is Scar Bloodwrath, the hero from Khorne Bloodbound that has a Bestigor head modification on him. So he's what's funny is Scar Bloodwrath has like hoofed feet, so he actually fits in really stinking well. If I had him near me, I would actually I do, don't I? Hold up. Oh god, I'm not gonna do over. Okay, here we go. So yeah, we got this guy here, Mr. Scar Bloodwrath, but he has hoofed feet, so when you put a Bestigor head on him, he looks like he belongs. Also, funny enough, the Beast Lord model has twin axes, so this whole thing just totally works. I didn't build him, but it literally is just Scar Bloodwrath. There's chains on his axes that just weren't added on, and then with a Bestigor head, and that is it. At some point, I'm going to do a paint tutorial on how I'm doing my Beast of Chaos with the super pallid skin, but it's straight out of the Battletomes tutorials, so it's not exactly treading new ground there. Let's see. Question. What advice to someone who's starting a YouTube channel on Warhammer? Ben, what's your advice for someone who's starting a YouTube channel on Warhammer?
I guess be consistent. That's one of the things I've always heard from people that do YouTube channels is one of the things that makes them successful is being consistent. I wouldn't know. I don't have a YouTube channel, but that's what I've heard.
You should have totally just like fibbed it and been just acted like you knew. Like, I don't know. I would have done that.
I've definitely heard that advice from Tabletop Minions guy, Uncle Adam. He's definitely said that before, so I'm just repeating what he said.
Yeah, what I would say is add value to people's lives. I think that's the most important thing. I mean, part of what made the channel of mine grow really quickly was that anytime anyone asked a question, I would take a screenshot of it and then answer it. And so people feel rewarded for that. Unfortunately, now I get blasted with so many questions, it just becomes easier to answer them in the chat. But I want to get back to doing that a little bit. But yeah, so just add value to people's lives, be consistent about it. Other than that, honestly, most folks, they make like 2 or 3 videos and then fall off the grid because it's not easy or convenient. So just do it a few times. If you don't like it, there's no shame. Don't do it anymore. If you like it, keep going. I think that's fair to say. Let's see here. Real only ones, Jack. Question for Ben. How many points of Daughters of Cain do you own?
I think I could throw together 750 points with everything that I've got.
You said 1750?
Yeah, 1750.
Oh, that's right, because I forgot you had Bharathi and you didn't bring her to the game. Duh, that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Nice. That is definitely a size that I think unruly once we play 1,000, 2,000, or 1,500.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I have a feeling Jack is planning my demise.
Oh, he's been instrumental in helping me with the Beast Chaos list that I'm going to be running on.
Okay.
Him, Brent, and Jack's brother Josh were all super awesome about helping out as far as feedback goes. So I'm kind of hoping for like a Captain Planet, like with our powers combined type thing.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Beasts of Chaos can eventually beat Daughters of Cain with the collaborative 4 minds.
Yeah, I know it's possible. There's battle reports online of it happening. It just, I hadn't seen it in person myself, so it really knocked the wind out of me. I was like, oh, they get 4 attacks each being human blenders. Okay. Let's see here. The username that I cannot pronounce, even to try. What are your thoughts on summoning with the Herd Stone for Beastmen? I play Seraphon and like their summoning, but I'm trying to figure out what other armies are like. I think Beast of Chaos is the best summoning there is. I'm trying to think about that statement. That's why I'm saying it slowly, not to be dramatic. The thing is that it's a very controlled. Like, I get 1 primordial call point every turn, and then I can sacrifice something for D3 and I gain D3, that same number. The thing is that means maximum I can do 4. Minimum, if I do the Hearthstone thing, minimum I get 1. Just the free one that I get because I didn't sacrifice anyone. And the prices all seem pretty legit. Nothing seems too ridiculous. And they priced things in an interesting way where, like, spawn are 3 points, which normally no one would ever use a spawn. But if you're playing Gabe spawn like I do, where you burst into spawn and you can use spawn to do extra attacks and all kinds of buffs, it's set up in a way where your synergy pieces are cheap enough. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. I don't know. I like it. It's my favorite one of the ones I've seen so far. Because of how reined in it is, and their deployment, their ambush, the way it works, when they come on the board, when you summon something, it comes on any board edge within 6 inches of it, outside 9 of an enemy. So your opponent has to be on his feet when it comes to leaving spaces of the board open. Because in that tournament I went to twice, I won objectives that matter for the end of the game, because I summoned a unit of gore, charged something, and then just had more models near an objective than my opponent, and I took them. So that's awesome. Let's see here. Jack says Khorne is the best army best in your opinion for summoning. Yeah, I think Khorne definitely has the best mechanic because he can summon, but he also has this cool toolbox of abilities. Ben, if you're not aware of this, like when you get blood type points in AOS,
yeah,
you can either have this list of 7 amazing abilities that are all super awesome, like automatically cancel a spell. You don't even have to try to unbind it; just shuts it down. In addition, when the new General's Handbook came out and they added the new kind of summoning mechanics, you can also spend those to summon units. So he has collectively the widest toolbox. So Jack's probably right. What do I know? I'm the guy who got tabled a bunch. So I just like the way that the Beast of Chaos is reined in. It doesn't seem too much, which to me was the biggest thing when it comes to summoning. I never want summoning armies to feel like a cash grab from GW. Like I feel like a lot of times with Maggotkin, they just wanted me to buy a whole bunch of trees or demons. So let's see here. Question: can Beast of Chaos Bray Shaman summon a Chaos Demons if he has the appropriate mark? No. Well, there's no more summon demon spells anymore. They're all tied to allegiance abilities and stuff like that. So I don't think so. It depends on how it goes. He can die, make a blood type point if he's Khorne, and then do that. Trying to find ones that are for both of us here. Have you painted yellow before, Ben?
I'm about to. Normally, the yellow that I paint is just in the form of fire on the shoulder pads of salamanders. But the gene stealers that I'm doing, their hard scaled armor is going to be yellow.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm currently thinking about how I'm going to do that best. I believe I've heard and in the past, usually you go up from a brown. So I've got sitting on my desk here Steel Legion Drab, which I was going to attempt to use as my base coat for that, or maybe Baylor Brown. That was my initial feeling, and then I was going to go up to Uriel Yellow as my main color for that, and then probably mix. I was probably going to mix together White Scar and Evil Suns. No, not Evil Suns. Bad Moon Yellow. No, what is it? The yellow one. The bright yellow one. Flash Gits.
Flash Gits. Yep.
Yeah. Flash Gits. I was probably going to mix those two together and highlight the edges a little bit. But yeah, usually going up from a brown works the best. You don't usually want to do yellow right over black.
Yeah, no, I couldn't get my yellows to work after I tried that. So someone in the chat asked about painting Iron Jaws. So and their suggestion was Avalorn Sunset to Uriel Yellow to Flash Gits Yellow. Which I love Avalorn Sunset. That's like actually my favorite yellow paint because I love the really like flat yellows.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jack asks, what happened to Korg's Cool after the Rumgate Wars? Nobody knows. Yeah, no, none of the heroes have been mentioned from the first season, I guess, or chapter of AOS to the second, which is a shame. So, okay, friends, we have our predetermined cutoff time approaching. So I will go ahead and kind of wind things down a bit. Ben, you have any final thoughts you want to share with the group as far as, I don't know, hobby suggestions, life tips, whatever you want to say. This is your time.
Nothing comes to mind. That was quite the open opportunity to just say whatever I wanted to. But,
yeah.
No, got nothing.
Sweet. Well, friends, thank you all so much for joining me. I got to hop off here, but I do appreciate everyone. And if you do listen to this on podcast format, go ahead and leave us a review if you'd like, honest review, and share it with your friends. It means so much to me. I will be doing a couple videos coming up about the list that I'm building for Beast Chaos and how it all goes as I do a new series called Making a Beast Lord, which is a shameless ripoff of Making a Murderer, the documentary. And we'll talk to you all real soon when we do that. So thank you all so much for joining me. Have a wonderful night.